The mountains moved under Elianor Vale's fingers before the generals finished laughing. Not on the horizon. On the royal war map itself, the carved black stone peaks rose beneath her trembling hands, scraping upward from the table like bones remembering where they had been buried. Blue moonlight split through the valleys. Silver roads twisted away from the official campaign lines, and a hidden pass opened where no pass had been marked. The Firewolf generals stopped laughing. Lord Commander Meryn Thorn went still, and Alpha King Caelum Veyr, who had ordered the blind maid to read the map in front of them all, stared at the moving mountains as if the table had just spoken a death sentence. Elianor could not see any of it. That was why they had dragged her there. A blind maid with pale, unfocused eyes and ash-gray sleeves was supposed to make a perfect joke before battle. She had spent years in Veyrhold's war carrying ink, cleaning wax from strategy boards, and listening to men discuss roads she would never see. No one worried about what a blind girl might notice. No one feared fingers that learned shape better than sight. 3 nights earlier, Elianor had been dusting an old campaign map in the lower archive when the northern ridge beneath her cloth shifted. Only a little. Enough to make her freeze. Before she could call for anyone, Alpha King Caelum Veyr spoke from the doorway. "Do not touch the northern ridge again unless I am present." Elianor bowed too quickly and knocked over the ink basin. Caelum crossed the room and stopped beside the map, close enough for her to feel his cold presence. "Did the stone move for you?" he asked. No one had ever asked whether the world answered her. They only asked whether she had broken what she could not see. "I do not know, Majesty." "That is not a denial." Footsteps sounded outside. Caelum stepped away, his voice becoming cold enough to belong to a throne. "Forget this room." But as he passed her, he lowered his voice. "If they bring you before the war table, do not pretend you are helpless." She had not understood. Now she stood in the war hall before 20 generals, and the warning felt less like protection than betrayal. Lord Commander Meryn had announced her like a punishment. "Since the lower servants have begun touching campaign maps," he said, "perhaps the blind girl should advise us where to march." Laughter moved through the hall. Elianor stood at the foot of the great map table, hands clasped tightly enough for her nails to bite skin. The royal war map was older than the kingdom, carved from black mountain stone and edged in silver bone. Kings bled beside it when campaigns failed. Scouts died proving it wrong. And now they had placed a blind maid before it. Meryn's voice sharpened. "Read, girl." Elianor lifted her chin. "I cannot read ink, my lord." More laughter. "Then read stone. You spend enough time polishing it." Elianor turned toward the throne dais, though she could not see Caelum's face. Surely he would stop this. Then Caelum spoke. "Let her read." The words cut cleanly. Not loud. Not cruel. Worse. Royal. Elianor placed her hands on the map because refusing would give Meryn a different kind of victory. The stone was cold. Then it remembered her. Beneath her right hand, a mountain ridge trembled. Beneath her left, a river line pulsed like a vein. Meryn laughed softly. "Well?" The map answered before she could. The northern mountains rose. Elianor felt the table change beneath her palms. A narrow road opened under what the official map called Dead Cliff. Then the stone grew warm. Not fire. Memory. She heard boots. Wheels. Muffled wolf breath. An army moving under mountain shadow, Elianor whispered. "There are troops in the Dead Pass." No one laughed now. Meryn's voice hardened. "Impossible." The map disagreed. A line of silver figures appeared along the hidden road. Enemy wolves traveling by night through the northern spine, close enough to strike Veyrhold's eastern granaries before the royal army reached the front. A general cursed. Meryn slammed his fist on the table. "This is trickery." Elianor flinched. The mountains beneath her hands flinched too. Caelum stepped down from the dais. His boots stopped across the war table. "Elianor," he said. Her name sounded dangerous because he waited until the whole court heard it. "Can you trace where the hidden road ends?" She almost laughed. He wanted more. After letting them laugh, after making her humiliation the doorway, her voice trembled. "You knew it might answer." Silence fell hard. Caelum did not lie. "Yes. And you let them do this." His voice lowered. "Yes. No defense. No mercy dressed as strategy." That made it worse. Meryn seized the moment. "Majesty." You admit using a blind servant to tamper with a war council. Caelum's voice went cold. I admit I needed the map to answer where everyone could witness it. The map beneath Elianor's hands pulsed again. A second hidden path opened. This one did not carry enemy soldiers. It carried blood. Old blood. A red moonlit trail ran from Veyrhold's western camp toward the Dead Pass. Supply wagons. War seals. Veyrhold markers. Someone inside the kingdom had guided the enemy through the mountains. Mehran shouted. Enough. Remove her hands from the map. 2 guards moved. The mountains rose higher, forming a wall between Elianor and the guards. The map was protecting the truth under her hands. A new line appeared in raised silver letters. Elianor could not see it, but she felt each word form beneath her fingertips. Stone-Seer wakes. Mehran inhaled sharply. Caelum's silence changed. Not surprise. Recognition. Elianor hated him for that, too. You knew that name, she whispered. Caelum did not answer quickly enough. The map pulled her hand toward the eastern edge, where tiny carved villages lay beneath the mountain road. When her fingers touched the first village, she heard children crying in cellars. When she touched the second, she smelled smoke that had not yet happened. When she touched the third, a wolf howled once, then cut off. She tried to pull away. The map held her. Not cruelly. Urgently. A living land memory did not show wonder. It showed warning. They are not marching on the front, Elianor forced out. They are going around it. Caelum's voice came low. Where? The map dragged her fingers along the hidden pass to its end. Elianor touched a carved fortress she knew by shape from years of cleaning the table's edge. Stonefall Gate. Mehran's voice cut in. Stonefall is sealed. The map shifted. Under Elianor's hands, Stonefall Gate cracked open. Not in the future. In memory. Someone had already opened it. A seal mark rose beneath her fingertips. Mehran's were crest. The hall went silent. Then the map pressed the truth into her bones. False campaign. Maid drew his sword. Caelum moved faster. Steel rang as the king's blade stopped Mehran's strike inches from Elianor's hands. For one heartbeat, Caelum stood close enough for her to feel his heat. Then the map rose into a jagged stone ridge, pushing him back. Again, distance. Again, earned. Caelum's voice came from beyond the ridge. Elianor. Can you find the army's true route before Mehran's men close the gate? The map pulsed beneath her palms. She could, but the stone was no longer only showing her land. It was asking for memory. Not any memory. The ones she had kept because sight had already taken so much from her. The hidden road burned beneath her fingers. Stonefall Gate trembled in the distance. Mehran smiled with fury in his voice. He did not sound afraid of the price. He sounded as if he already knew which memory the map would ask for. Let her try, Majesty, Mehran said. Living maps do not open without taking something. The mountains under Elianor's hands shifted toward her like teeth, and the war map whispered into her bones. Name the price. The war map did not ask Elianor for blood. It asked for the last memory of her mother's face. The price rose beneath her fingers as warmth, shape, and loss. A soft cheek against her temple. Careful hands guiding hers over a wooden bowl. A voice whispering, when sight leaves you, remember by touch. Elianor stopped breathing. Stonefall Gate trembled under her left hand. The hidden enemy route burned beneath her right. Somewhere beyond the war hall, lower pack villages waited under a night they did not know was coming. The map waited. Name the price. Lord Commander Mehran Thorne smiled. He did not sound afraid of the price. He sounded as if he already knew which memory the map would ask for. Alpha King Caelum's voice came from beyond the jagged stone ridge between them. What is it asking? Elianor swallowed. My mother. The hall went silent. Caelum's voice sharpened. No. The map pulsed once. Warning. Caelum moved closer. And the stone ridge rose higher. The map did not trust him either. Take mine instead, Caelum said. If the land requires memory, take one of mine. The map dragged a black line between them. Rejected. Not Stone-Seer. For the first time, Caelum's crown meant nothing to the table. No command. No sword. Only the girl he had ordered forward could pay. Elianor turned her face toward him. You cannot pay this for me. His answer came rough. I know. Then do not make my pain sound like your command. A pause. Then lower. I won't. That was not forgiveness. But it gave her space. Elianor did not give the memory of her mother's face. Not yet. She gave something smaller. The way her mother had once said the name of their village. Greymere, Elianor whispered. The map drank the word. Pain opened behind her blind eyes. She remembered her mother's hands, her song, her breath against her hair, but the way her mother said Greymere vanished. Gone. As if the word had never belonged to someone she loved. Elianor's knees almost buckled. The mountains moved. The hidden pass opened wider, showing enemy wolves crawling through the northern spine toward Stonefall Gate. But behind the enemy route, another road appeared. Veyrhold's road. A royal column had been ordered west at dawn, away from the lower packs. Meyron snapped. False stone. The map struck back. Black markers rose from the table. Supply wagons, sealed dispatches, royal scouts, and a command line burned with Veyrhold's wolf crest. Caelum's crest. The generals erupted. Meyron's voice rose above them. The king abandoned Stonefall before I ever touched the map. Elianor felt Caelum go still. Too still. The map pulled her hand toward the royal seal. She did not want to touch it. The stone did not care. Her fingers brushed the raised mark. A memory opened. Rain. A war tent. Caelum's younger voice, cold and certain. Move the royal column west before dawn. A commander asked. And Stonefall? A pause. Then Caelum's seal pressed into wax. Stonefall holes. The memory vanished. Elianor's stomach turned. Caelum had said Meyron was guiding the enemy, but the map had shown Caelum's order too. The stone ridge lowered by an inch. Not forgiveness. Invitation to be judged. Caelum stepped close enough to place one ungloved hand on the map's edge. I gave that order, he said. The hall quieted. I believed the western column was pursuing the enemy's main force. Meyron spread his hands. A tragic mistake. War is full of them. The map pulsed. Lee. Elianor felt it before anyone spoke. She turned toward Meyron. You carved false roads. His smile thinned. She touched the western route again. Wrong. Too smooth. Too eager. A road drawn to be believed, not remembered. The map asked for another memory. This time it asked for the first room Elianor learned after losing sight. 7 steps from cot to door. 3 to the basin. 1 crack in the wall shaped like a bird's wing. She had kept that room because after blindness, she needed proof the world could still be learned. She closed her hand. Take the room. The memory vanished. Panic tore through her. For one breath. She could not remember how far her childhood cot had been from the door, but the false western road split apart. There had never been a true pass there. Meyron had carved the road into the living map with war seal ink, and Caelum's scouts had trusted the table instead of the land. Meyron moved fast. He slammed his palm onto the map and drove a black war seal into the stone. The whole table screamed. False roads burst everywhere. North, west, east. Dozens of them. Too many to separate by touch. Meyron's voice turned sharp. Find the true route now, Stone-Seer. Or choose wrong and let the land take what remains. Caelum seized Meyron by the collar. The map cracked between them. A raised stone line snapped around Caelum's wrist. Judging him too. Meyron laughed. Careful, Majesty. The map remembers your seal. Caelum did not let go. Then let it remember who placed the road beneath my seal. The stone tightened around his wrist until bone creaked. He did not pull away. For the first time, he was paying with something more than confession. The map opened a thin memory under his hand. Meyron in the lower archive. Meyron's war seal ink pouring into the carved western road. A scribe whispering. If the king sees the old map. Meyron answering. The blind maid will be dead before he dares ask it. Elianor went cold. There it was. The quiet murder. The reason Caelum had forced the humiliation into public light. Not enough to forgive him, but enough to understand the knife behind the door. A black marker appeared beside Elianor's old sleeping quarters. A garde-route. A sealed order. A grave already marked without a name. Elianor's hands shook. Meyron's backup had not only been false roads, it had been her death. Caelum's grip tightened. The map ridge around his wrist sharpened. If he killed Meyron now, the map would close. Elianor knew it. So did he. Do not, she said. Caelum stopped. Elianor turned back to the maze beneath her fingers. False roads. True road. Stonefall gate. Enemy army. Lower packs. Her memories thinning inside her like thread pulled from cloth. She could not open every path. She had to ask differently. Not where the army marched. Why the land allowed the road to be hidden. Elianor pressed both palms flat against the map. No more roads, she whispered. Show me the wound. The map stilled. Then beneath the carved mountains, something vast turned in its sleep. A buried stone wolf. Its body lay under the northern spine, chained with war seal iron. Its mouth forced open to hide the dead pass from living maps. The enemy had not found a secret route. Mehron had chained the land's own memory to create one. The buried stone wolf opened one blind eye beneath Elianor's fingers. It did not look at her with sight. It recognized her with loss. Its voice entered her bones. Name who sealed my sight. Mehron staggered back. Caelum and still. Elianor felt the map turn toward the king's trapped wrist. Toward his seal. Toward an old command older than this campaign. The stone wolf spoke again. The first seal bears the crown. And under Caelum's wrist, the old royal mark began to bleed blue stone light. The old royal seal under Caelum's wrist began to bleed blue stone light. Not blood. Not magic clean enough for priests to bless. Stone light. Cold, heavy, and old. It ran from his trapped wrist into the royal war map, spreading through carved valleys and mountain ridges, like a vein opening under black skin. Caelum did not pull away. The stone cuff around his wrist tightened until Elianor heard bone strain. The buried stone wolf beneath the northern spine spoke again. The first seal bears the crown. Elianor felt the words move through her palms. Mehron had chained the land's memory, but he had not invented the chain. The map turned itself toward Caelum, not toward his face, toward his seal, toward the history his bloodline had left inside stone. Caelum's voice came low. Read it, Mehron snapped. Majesty, do not. The map pulsed. Li. Caelum looked toward the commander. That sounds like an answer. Then he pressed his trapped wrist harder against the stone. Blue light flared. A memory opened beneath Elianor's fingers. She did not see it. She felt it as pressure, shape, and sound. A throne room older than Caelum. A dead king's hand pressing a royal seal into molten blue stone. A mapmaker screaming. A wolf howling beneath a mountain. The old king's voice said, No land memory speaks above the crown. The stone wolf shuddered under Elianor's hands. Its blindness entered her own darkness. Not as sight, as grief. For one heartbeat, Elianor felt what it was to be a mountain creature made to remember paths, rivers, buried villages, and old wolf roads then forced into darkness so kings could decide which roads existed. She almost lost herself in it. The map asked for a price. Not her mother this time. Not a room. A memory of direction. The first path she had learned alone after blindness. The courtyard route from the lower kitchen to the rain well. 12 steps along the wall. Turn at the warm stone. 6 steps over broken tile. Listen for water. That memory had taught her she could move without being led. Losing it would hurt. But the stone wolf's eye trembled beneath her fingertips. Elianor whispered, Take the rain well. The memory left her. Panic struck instantly. For a breath, she could no longer remember how to reach the lower courtyard without a guiding hand. The loss was small to anyone else. To her, it was a piece of freedom. The map opened. The blue stone light under Caelum's wrist spread into the past. A line of kings appeared, not as faces, but as seals stamped into living maps. Each generation had tightened the crown's hold over land memory. Each war table had been carved from stone that once remembered freely. Each campaign map showed not only what was true, but what the crown permitted to be known. Caelum's breath roughened. He had inherited more than a throne. He had inherited a blindfold over the land. Mehron seized the moment. And there is the danger. Break the crown seal now. And every royal map in Veyrhold fails during war. Scouts lose roads. Fortresses lose supply lines. Armies march blind. The generals shifted. Fear moved through the hall. Useful fear. Mehron wielded it like a second sword. The lower packs will die faster if every map unbinds at once. Elianor felt the truth and lie tangled together. The crown seals were wrong. but breaking them carelessly could collapse every campaign route at once. A living map did not forgive haste because intention sounded noble. Caelum looked at Elianor across the raised stone ridges. What does the land need? Not what should I do? Not how do I keep command? What does the land need? She breathed through the emptiness where the rainwell path had been. It does not need you to break every seal. The map stilled. It needs you to stop commanding what it may remember. Caelum lowered his head. Then, before the generals, he removed the royal war ring from his free hand. Merrin's voice sharpened. Majesty. Caelum placed the ring on the edge of the map. My command over land. Memory is suspended until the map names the true road. The war hall went still. The map tested the words. Blue stone light coiled around the ring. Accepted. Not forgiven. Accepted. Elianor felt the map breathe. For the first time, the false roads stopped multiplying. Merrin's jaw tightened. He moved again. Not with sword. With law. Then, by emergency campaign code, he said. Command passes to the Lord Commander while royal map authority is suspended. Several generals turned toward him. The trap snapped shut. Caelum had lowered his authority. Merrin had been waiting to catch it. Caelum reached for his sword. The map cuff tightened around his wrist. No. Elianor understood. If Caelum fought for command now, the crown seal would reassert itself. If he stayed silent, Merrin would take the army. Merrin smiled. Your Majesty has nobly stepped aside. I will lead the campaign. The buried stone wolf growled beneath the northern spine. Elianor pressed both palms to the map. No. Her voice was quiet. The map carried it. Merrin turned. You hold no command. No, she said. I hold the question. The mountains stirred. She asked the land, not the court. Who benefits if Stonefall closes? The map asked for a price. A sharp one. The memory of the last color she remembered before blindness. Blue. Not sky exactly. Not river exactly. A scrap of her mother's dress in sunlight. The only color that still lived inside her darkness. Elianor's throat closed. Merrin knew. She could hear it in his silence. He had known the map would keep asking for pieces of the world she had saved. Caelum's voice came rough. Elianor. She turned toward him. Do not make that sound like command, she whispered. His breath stopped. Then he said softer. It is not command. It is grief. That almost broke her. She gave the memory anyway. Take blue. The color vanished. Not from her eyes. They had lost it years ago. From memory, the last blue inside her went out. Elianor almost fell. The map rose to hold her wrists, not gently, but upright. The land took. Then it answered. Stonefall Gate shifted aside. A second route appeared beneath it. Lower. Older. A hidden road under the lower pack villages. Not toward the fortress. Under it. Elianor heard shovels. Carts. Children being moved. Not enemy soldiers. Civilians. The hidden campaign was not aimed at Stonefall Gate. Stonefall was bait. The true path ran beneath Greymere. Her village. The name no longer carried her mother's voice, but it still struck like a wound. Merrin swore under his breath. Caelum's voice hardened. Greymere was abandoned. The map pulsed. Lee. Elianor felt the buried stone wolf lift its blind head. Greymere had not been abandoned. It had been erased from royal maps. Lower pack families still lived beneath the old ridge, hidden from tax records, troop lists, and campaign protections. Perfect to sacrifice. Perfect to remove. Perfect to erase the birthplace of a Stone-Seer before she could ever learn what she was. Merrin shouted. The map is corrupted. The war table answered by raising tiny stone houses under Elianor's fingers. Ona. Too many. Alive. Then the buried stone wolf spoke through the hall. The enemy is not marching to conquer Stonefall. A tunnel opened under Greymere. The blue stone light under Caelum's wrist turned black at the edges. The wolf's voice deepened. They are being led to erase her birthplace. Elianor could not breathe. Merrin backed away. Caelum tore against the stone cuff, bloodless and furious. But the map held him. The buried wolf opened its blind eye wider under her hands, and the final line of stone memory rose beneath Elianor's palms. The order bears both seals, crown and commander. The order bore both seals, crown, and commander. The words rose beneath Elianor's palms like carved teeth. The war hall went silent around her, but she did not need sight to know every general had turned toward Alpha King Caelum Veyr. The old royal mark under his trapped wrist bled blue stone light. Beside it, Mehron's war crest burned black. 2 seals. 1 order. 1 erased village. Greymere. Elianor could no longer remember how her mother had said the name, but the word still hurt. It lived in her bones even without the voice that had once carried it. Mehron recovered first. "There," he said, breathing hard but smiling. "The map names the king with me." Caelum did not speak. That made the silence worse. The buried stone wolf shifted beneath the northern spine, its blind eye open under Elianor's fingers. "Name the hand that signed." The map pulled at Caelum's wrist. The royal seal flared. A memory opened. Rain again. The war tent again. A younger Caelum standing over dispatches, face carved from exhaustion and command. Mehron stood beside him with a campaign map already altered beneath wax. A messenger knelt before them. "Greymere is not listed under protected lower pack settlements, Majesty." Young Caelum did not look up quickly enough. Elianor felt the hesitation like a knife. Mehron spoke smoothly. "It was abandoned years ago. No families remain." The younger Caelum pressed the royal seal into wax, then moved the column west. The memory closed. The hall breathed again. Mehron lifted his hands. "A king signs what his records say. If Greymere was erased before my campaign, how could I know?" The map pulsed beneath Elianor's fingers. "Lee." Mehron's breath caught. "Good." But Caelum's guilt did not vanish. He had signed without checking what erasure meant. He had trusted records that made poor villages disappear. He had ruled above blank spaces. Caelum's voice came low. "I signed it. No defense. No escape." Elianor felt him turn toward her through the stone ridge. "I did not know Greymere lived." Her hands curled against the map. "But you did not ask why it was gone." The blue stone light under his wrist brightened. "Accepted." The map had heard the wound cleanly named. Caelum lowered his head. "No," Mehron snarled. "Sentiment will not save the village. The enemy is already below the ridge." The map showed it at once. Under Elianor's palms, the tunnel beneath Greymere warmed with movement. Enemy wolves, supply carts, war lanterns covered in black cloth, and worse Veyrhold guide markers. Someone was leading them through the old underroad. Mehron had not only erased Greymere, he had left it as bait. Caelum's trapped wrist strained against the stone cuff. "How far?" Elianor pressed her fingers to the tunnel. The map asked for a price. Another memory. This one rose slowly, cruelly. The sound of her mother laughing. Elianor Vale. She had already lost the way her mother said Greymere. She had already lost the lower dormitory steps. She had lost Blue. Now the map wanted laughter. The last bright thing her blindness had not eaten. Mehron heard her breath change. His voice softened with poison. "Careful, girl. Living land is hungry. Give too much, and you will save a village without remembering why you loved it." Caelum's voice came rough. "Elianor." She turned her face toward him. "Do not." He stopped. She could feel him swallow the rest. "Good. Her choice. Her cost." She pressed both palms into the map, but she did not give the laughter. Not yet. A Stone-Seer did not only pay what the land demanded. She could ask why the land wanted that memory. Elianor whispered, "Why that?" The map stilled. The buried stone wolf turned its blind eye toward her. "Because joy remembers home better than grief." The answer nearly broke her. Greymere was not only a place. It was the last place her mother had laughed without fear. If the land took that memory, it could find the village through love, not records. Elianor's throat closed. She gave it. The laughter left her. Not loudly. Not with pain. With absence. One moment, she knew the shape of the sound. The next, she knew only that something warm had once existed there. Her knees buckled. The map lifted stone around her wrist to hold her upright. The mountains opened. Far beneath the northern ridge, Greymere appeared. Not abandoned. Hidden. Small stone homes carved into the valley wall. Smoke tucked under moss vents. Children sleeping in underground rooms. Old wolves guarding quiet doors. Lower pack families who had survived because the world forgot them, until forgetting became the road to their deaths. Caelum made a sound like a curse. Meyron moved. He slammed his war seal into the map again. But this time the stone wolf was awake enough to bite back. The table cracked open and closed around his hand. Meyron screamed. No blood spilled. Only blue stone light climbing over his fingers like judgment. The buried wolf spoke. You carved roads through my blindness. Meyron gritted his teeth. I carved victory through weakness. Elianor lifted her head. Greymere was not weakness. The map carried her voice. It was hidden life. The stone wolf's blind eye burned brighter. The tunnel under Greymere began to close. Enemy markers scattered. For the first time, the invasion route faltered. Then Meyron smiled through pain. You close that tunnel, and the pressure breaks somewhere else. Elianor felt the truth of it too late. The enemy force beneath the ridge did not stop moving. It split. 3 smaller tunnels opened under the living map. One toward Greymere, one toward Stonefall Gate, one toward the Royal Supply Road. Caelum spoke sharply. Can the map close all 3? The land answered through Elianor's bones. One memory, one wound, one path. She could not pay for all 3. Meyron laughed, breathless. Choose, Stone-Seer. Your birthplace, your kingdom's gate, or the army that laughed at you. The war hall froze. Elianor's body shook. The map waited. 3 tunnels pulsed beneath her fingers. 3 possible losses. One price left rising inside her. This time, the memory was not her mother. It was the moment she first accepted darkness as permanent. The day she stopped waiting to wake with sight again. If the map took that, she might lose the hard truth that had made her survive. Caelum's voice came from across the stone. Do not choose for my army because I failed your village. Elianor turned toward him. He sounded broken. Good. Broken men sometimes finally told the truth. Caelum pressed his trapped wrist deeper into the royal seal until blue light climbed to his elbow. Map, he said, voice carrying across the hall. Take the crown's command instead. The stone wolf growled. Not Stone-Seer. Caelum did not retreat. Not as payment for her. As debt for my seal. The royal mark flared. The map paused. Elianor felt the difference. He could not pay her price, but he could surrender what his seal still held. Military control. Royal certainty. The right to decide which path mattered most. Meyron's smile vanished. Majesty, if you give that up, the War Council loses command structure. Caelum did not look at him. The War Council used command structure to erase a village. The map tested him. The stone cuff around his wrist cracked. Caelum's breath hitched, but he did not pull away. The royal seal bled brighter. Then the map accepted. Not full payment. A second key. Elianor understood. Her memory could open one path. Caelum's surrendered command could stop the map from forcing her to choose alone. She pressed her hands flat. I choose Greymere. The first tunnel closed. Caelum's royal seal shattered under his wrist. I release command over Stonefall's road. The second tunnel collapsed. The war hall shook. Generals shouted. Meyron screamed. You have blinded the army. Caelum looked toward the living map. No. I have stopped pretending the crown sees better than land. The third tunnel, the one toward the Royal Supply Road, remained open. Elianor felt enemy markers rushing through it. Too fast. Too close. She had no memory left she could afford without losing herself entirely. Then the buried stone wolf moved beneath the northern spine. One massive stone paw pressed under her hands. Loss recognizes loss. The third tunnel began to close, not from her memory, not from Caelum's command, but from the wolf's own returning sight. Meyron's face went white. The enemy route snapped shut. Across the map, thousands of silver markers halted in darkness. Greymere breathed. Stonefall held. The Royal Supply Road survived. For one breath, Elianor thought the worst had passed. Then the old map split beneath the throne dais. A deeper layer rose from under the royal war table. Not mountains. Not roads. Numbers. Hundreds of village names scraped off the living land across generations. Greymere was only one. The buried stone wolf spoke through the entire hall. Return what the crown erased. And beneath Caelum's broken seal, the first lost village began to call Elianor by a name she had never heard before. The first lost village called Elianor by a name she had never heard before. Not Elianor Vale. Not Blind Maid. Not Servant. A name rose from beneath the map in blue stone light, old and careful, like the land was afraid to break it by speaking too loudly. Elaria Stonevale. Elianor's breath caught. The name did not feel like a crown. It felt like a door someone had sealed before she was old enough to reach it. Across the war hall, the erased village names lifted from beneath the royal map table. Hundreds of them. Some broken. Some half-carved. Some scratched out so violently the stone still remembered the blade. Greymere was only one wound. The buried stone wolf spoke again. Return what the crown erased. Caelum stood with his wrists still trapped in cracked stone, the royal seal bleeding blue light around his skin. His command over Stonefall's road was gone. His war ring lay dark on the map. His face had the look of a man who had thought he was uncovering one betrayal and found his throne built over many. Marin's hand remained caught in the table, blue stone light climbing over his fingers like frost. He laughed once, weakly. You cannot return every forgotten village during a war. The map answered by tightening around his hand. Maron swallowed the rest. Elianor felt the lost name under her palms. Elaria Stonevale. She wanted to reject it. Names given by magic were dangerous. Names spoken by lost things could become cages if a hungry court heard them. She was not a hidden queen. Not a mountain princess. Not a holy answer to everyone's guilt. She was a blind girl whose memories were being taken piece by piece because powerful men had made maps lie. Her voice came low. Why that name? The land did not answer with lore. It answered with touch. A memory rose beneath her fingers. A woman's hands, not her mother's, carving small roads into soft clay for a blind child to follow. Another pair of hands guiding a child's palm over river stones. A line of women in ash-gray cloaks standing before living maps. Each one with clouded eyes, scarred fingers, or covered sight. Stone-Seers, not queens. Witnesses of land memory. Women who gave the land permission to speak when kings made maps obey. Elianor trembled. Marin snarled. Old superstition. The buried stone wolf growled. Caelum looked toward Elianor. What does it show? She could have answered. Instead, she asked the map. Show him. The map paused, then turned toward Caelum. A ridge of blue stone light rose under his trapped wrist and opened a memory into his palm. He gasped, not from pain, from being forced to feel what sight could not rule. Elianor heard him breathe through the memory. Erased villages, changed borders, lower pack roads removed from royal protection, names filed under empty land, so tax collectors, soldiers, and nobles could pretend no one lived there. Caelum's voice came rough. How many? The map answered with silence first, then names. Too many to count quickly. The war hall changed. Generals who had mocked Elianor now stood before a table full of villages they had never defended because the crown's maps told them those places did not exist. Caelum lowered his head. I ruled by those maps. Elianor's fingers tightened. Yes. The word hurt him. Good. It should. Marin seized the moment. And every king before him. Will you strip the crown of every road because old stone remembers peasants? Caelum's voice turned cold. Say that again. Maron smiled through pain. Peasants do not win wars. The map cracked beneath him. Elianor lifted her head. No, she said. But they die in them first. The erased village names flared. The map asked for a price. Elianor went still. She knew the feel of it now. A door opening inside her. A memory waiting at the threshold. This one was not her mother. Not a room. Not a color. It was the first face she remembered after losing sight. Not seen with eyes. Learned by touch. Her own. The shape of her cheekbones under childish fingers. The small scar near her brow. The way she had touched her face after blindness and whispered, "Still me." If she gave it, she would no longer remember the first time she recognized herself without sight. Her hands began to shake. Caelum heard the shift in her breath. What does it ask? Elianor almost lied. Then she remembered too many maps already had. My own face. Caelum's trapped wrist strained against the stone. No. The map pulsed warning. He stopped himself before it had to stop him. Elianor smiled without humor. You are learning. His voice broke slightly. Not fast enough. No, not fast enough to save what had already been taken, but maybe fast enough to stop taking more. Elianor turned back to the map. She would not give that memory blindly. What will it open? The stone wolf answered. The first erased road. Elianor understood. Not every village. Not yet. The first. The place where crown erasure began. If they found the first erased road, they could unmake the law that followed it. She pressed her fingertips to the name, Ilaria Stonevale. Then she gave the memory. Her own face vanished from the private map inside her. For a moment, she lost balance so completely that she did not know where her body ended. A hand caught the edge of the table near her. Not touching her. Close. Caelum. He had moved as far as the map allowed and stopped there. Still yours, he said quietly. Elianor's throat tightened. What? Your face, he said. Even if the map took the memory. Still yours. She hated that the words helped. The map opened. A road older than Veyrhold rose beneath the erased names. It ran under Greymere, under Stonefall, under every village scraped from royal records. At its beginning stood a stone arch with no crown mark. Beside it, the first Stone-Seer knelt with both hands on the land. A king stood over her. Not Caelum. Not his father. Older. The first wolf-crown king. He held a blade made of blue stone. Blind the road, he ordered. No land speaks where crown must march. The first Stone-Seer refused. The king drove the blade into the stone wolf's eye. Elianor cried out as pain flashed through her own darkness. The buried stone wolf howled beneath the map. The war hall shook. Caelum's wrist seal split wider. Mehron's face turned pale. The memory did not end. The king took the Stone-Seer's name and carved it from the map. Ilaria Stonevale. Elianor's unknown name. Not hers alone. An inherited witness name. The name of the first woman erased so crown roads could lie. Elianor breathed through the pain. I am not her. The map stilled. I carry what she carried. That is not the same as becoming her. The stone wolf's blind eye softened beneath her hands. Accepted. Mehron looked between her and the map. Panic finally breaking through his confidence. If that first road opens, every erased village can claim protection. Every hidden tax, every false march, every border sacrifice. Will be named, Caelum finished. The king's voice was quiet, deadly. Mehron tried to wrench his hand free. The map held him. Elianor turned toward Caelum. What will you give? The hall froze. Caelum did not ask what she meant. Good. He knew now. The land had read her. It had to read him, too. He placed his free hand beside the broken royal ring. My first campaign victory. Mehron hissed. Majesty. Caelum ignored him. The one sung at Blackridge. If the map finds it false, take it from every royal record. The map considered, then rejected. Not enough. Caelum's jaw tightened. My right to move armies through erased land. The blue stonelight flared. Closer. Still not enough. Elianor understood before he did. The first seal had been placed by a king who believed crown sight mattered more than land memory. Caelum had to give the opposite. Not a victory. Not a route. A power. Your war maps, she said. Caelum turned toward her. If you mean this, then no royal map obeys you until the erased villages are returned. The generals erupted. Caelum did not. He looked at the living map. Then at Elianor. Then at the names. So be it. The royal seal around his wrist shattered. Blue stonelight shot through the war hall. Every campaign map hanging on the walls cracked. Every painted road flickered. Every crown-approved route dimmed until the land beneath it could answer for itself. The stone wolf beneath the northern spine inhaled. One chain broke. The first erased road opened. And from the darkness beneath Greymere, a living pack of forgotten wolves began running toward the surface. The forgotten wolves ran toward the surface without howling. That was what frightened the war hall most. Not the sound. The silence. Beneath Greymere, under roads the crown had erased, and mountains the map had been forced to forget. A living pack moved through blue stonelight. Their markers rose from the war table one by one. Small silver wolves. Children. Elders. Wounded guards. Lower pack mothers carrying sleeping pups through hidden tunnels. They were not ghosts. They were alive. Elianor felt them under her fingers. Breathing. Running. Remembered. Lord Commander Meryn Thorne stared at the map as if it had betrayed him personally. Those packs were removed from protection by lawful border decree, he said. The buried stone wolf growled beneath the northern spine. The map answered in one cold pulse. Erased is not dead. Alpha King Caelum stood with his wrist freed from the shattered royal seal. But freedom had not made him powerful. Every royal campaign map on the walls had cracked. Every crown-approved road now flickered uncertainly, waiting for the living land to confirm it. For the first time in the war hall, Caelum had no obedient map, only truth. He turned toward Elianor. How far are the enemy wolves from Greymere? She placed 2 fingers on the tunnel. The land asked for nothing this time. Not yet. It showed her because the first erased road had opened. Close, she whispered. Too close. Tiny black markers moved beneath the ridge, hunting through the lower tunnels. The forgotten pack was running upward. The enemy was moving down. They would meet beneath the mountain throat. Meryn's voice sharpened. If the forgotten wolves surface inside Veyrhold lines, our army will not know friend from enemy. You have opened chaos. Elianor felt the lie twist through the room. Not complete lie. Enough truth to be dangerous. The royal army had no record of Greymere's pack. No banners. No scent marks in the current rolls. No command chain. If they surfaced in the middle of battle, nervous soldiers might cut them down before names could be spoken. Caelum understood it too. His voice came low. Then we name them before they surface. The map waited. Elianor's hands trembled. Naming a living pack through erased land would cost more than a village word. The price rose inside her. This time it was not memory of her mother. Not a room. Not a color. It was the first time she had learned a person by touch and trusted the shape. Her mother's hand. Every line across the palm. Every small scar from needle and thread. Every place where love had become familiar without sight. Elianor almost pulled away. If the land took that, she would remember her mother existed, but not how her hand felt in hers. Caelum heard her breath break. What does it ask? Elianor closed her eyes, though darkness had already claimed them. My mother's hand. Pain moved through his silence. Meryn laughed softly. How many pieces of yourself will you spend before you understand? The land is not your ally. It is a mouth. Elianor turned toward him. No, she said. It is a witness that was starved. The map warmed beneath her fingers. Accepted. She bent over the table. Take the hand. The memory left her. For one heartbeat, she panicked so hard the war hall vanished. She remembered her mother's voice, her breath, her song, but not the palm that had guided her through the first darkness. Elianor swayed. Caelum moved, then stopped himself before the map had to stop him. Still hers, he said quietly. Elianor hated how much she needed those words. Then the map opened. Names rose from Greymere. Not noble names. Not registered names. Living names. Mara, of the Moss Door. Kellen Ashfoot. Old Renna under Ridge. Tovin with the broken ear. Lysa who kept the winter pups. One by one, the forgotten wolves became more than markers. They became a pack the army could not legally mistake for enemy. The names flew from the war table to the cracked campaign maps on the walls, then out through the open hall windows in streaks of blue stone light. Far beyond the keep, Veyrhold soldiers would hear them. Greymere lives. Do not strike. The map pulsed. The buried stone wolf lifted its head. One more chain cracked. Meryn's face went white. He yanked his trapped hand again, but the map held him. You think naming them saves them? He hissed. The enemy is already in the lower throat. The black markers moved faster. Elianor touched the tunnel mouth. The enemy path forked. One route led toward the escaping pack. The other led toward a sealed chamber beneath Greymere. A chamber not on any royal map. Not even the living one, until now. Inside it, something old beat like a buried heart. Elianor's fingers recoiled. What is below Greymere? Meryn stopped breathing. Caelum turned toward him. What did you hide there? Meryn said nothing. The map answered for him. A memory rose. Meryn kneeling years ago in a lower chamber under Greymere, pressing war seal iron into the eye of the buried stone wolf. Beside him stood foreign soldiers, enemy coin. and a covered cradle made of mountain bone. Elianor's throat tightened. A cradle. Not empty. The memory showed a child wrapped in gray cloth. A blind infant. Here. Caelum's voice dropped into something lethal. You knew what she was from birth. Merrin's face hardened. I knew what her blood could ruin. Elianor's hands shook over the table. The map did not call her queen, did not call her heir. It called her what the land had always meant. Stone-Seer. A witness born where the first erased road still breathed. Merrin smiled with cold desperation. Ask the map what happens if she reaches Greymere before the lower chamber closes. The map went silent. Too silent. Elianor pressed her fingers to the chamber beneath the village. The price rose. Not a memory. A choice. Stay at the war table and guide the army from safety. Or enter the living map and walk the road herself. Caelum said. No. The map flared warning. He stopped. Elianor lifted her face toward him. You said you would not command my pain. His voice was rough. I am trying not to. Then try harder. Silence. Then he said, What does the road ask? Elianor swallowed. It wants me to go where the map remembers me beginning. Merrin laughed. A blind maid walking a buried road during an invasion. How poetic. Caelum turned on him. Be silent. The map did not punish the command. It agreed. A stone band closed over Merrin's mouth. For one blessed breath, the room lost his voice. Elianor almost smiled. Almost. Then the living war map opened beneath her hands. The mountain path rose from the table as a bridge of blue stone light, stretching from the war hall floor into the air. Then downward into darkness no one else could see, but Elianor could feel it. Every step, every turn, every wound. Caelum stood at the edge of the bridge. I cannot walk it for you. No. I can keep the army from striking what emerges. Yes. He bowed his head once. Then that is what I will do. Not enough, but right. Elianor stepped onto the living road. The war hall vanished behind her. Cold mountain air wrapped around her body. The map was no longer under her hands. It was under her feet. Far ahead, Greymere breathed in darkness. Behind her, Caelum's voice carried through the stone. By my broken seal, no soldier strikes the named pack. The land tested him. Accepted. Elianor walked forward. Then the buried stone wolf spoke beneath her steps. Hurry, Stone-Seer. The enemy has found your cradle. Iron spikes struck the cradle chamber floor before Elianor reached it. The living road screamed under her feet. Blue stone lights split across the path, sharp as broken glass, and the war hall vanished behind her in a rush of cold mountain air. The generals, the cracked maps, Merrin's trapped hand, Caelum's broken seal, everything fell away, until there was only the road beneath her and the pain of it breaking. Elianor staggered. The mountain caught her ankle with a ridge of stone light. Not gently, urgently. If the road broke while she stood inside it, she might never return to the war hall. She might become another lost path beneath Greymere, remembered only by stone. Ahead, the cradle chamber shook again. Enemy boots scraped over carved roads. A commander's voice snapped. Break the rim before the Stone-Seer enters. Elianor forced herself forward. The path beneath her did not look like a road to anyone with sight. To her, it was touch made enormous. Ridges like knuckles, riverbeds like old scars, tunnels warm where people still lived, tunnels cold where soldiers had passed with murder in their boots. Greymere breathed around her. Hidden. Alive. Hunted. The buried stone wolf spoke beneath her steps. They are cutting the cradle road. Elianor's hands closed around empty air. What is the cradle? Not only yours. The road dipped. The air changed. She heard wolves breathing behind stone doors, children being hushed by mothers, old guards lifting blades with shaking hands. The forgotten pack had heard the enemy below them, but they did not know which tunnel was safe. Because royal maps had erased them. Because Merron had carved false roads through living land. Because kings had allowed blank spaces to become graves. A pulse came from behind her. Caelum's voice traveled through the map like a hand held near but not touching. Elianor. The named pack is surfacing. My soldiers are holding. She heard strain beneath the words. Not battle. Discipline. Soldiers trained to strike unknown wolves were being forced to lower their weapons, while an erased pack emerged from underground doors. Caelum had to hold them without a map that obeyed him. Good. Let him feel what command became when it could no longer hide behind certainty. Elianor kept walking. A memory rose from the stone before she could stop it. A woman running through lower tunnels with a bundle in her arms. Her mother. Elianor knew her by breath, not face. Behind her came Marin's younger voice, cold as iron dragged across stone. The child opens roads. Kill the mother. Keep the cradle. Elianor stumbled. The living road tightened under her feet. She forced herself forward. The path opened into a chamber. Elianor could not see it, but the living land pressed its shape into her hands. A round cavern beneath Greymere. Walls veined with blue stone. Light, floor carved with old roads that shifted like sleeping snakes. At the center stood a cradle made of mountain bone and river stone. Around it stood enemy wolves. Too many. Their boots scraped against the carved floor. Their armor smelled of foreign iron. One of them held a blade against the cradle's rim as if the object itself could bleed. A commander spoke. Break it. Elianor did not move. The enemy commander lifted his sword. Then Caelum's voice struck through the map from far behind her. Do not touch what you do not understand. The enemy froze. Elianor's breath caught. Caelum was not in the chamber. Not bodily, but his command had traveled through the living road. The buried stone wolf growled. Testing him. The command was not ownership. It was warning. The land allowed it. The enemy commander turned his head. The Alpha King speaks through a broken seal. Caelum's answer came cold. No. Through a road I no longer command. That mattered. Elianor stepped into the chamber. Every enemy wolf turned toward her. A blind maid in an ash-gray dress, walking alone into the place where soldiers had come to destroy the beginning of her name. One soldier laughed. The cradle answered. Blue stone light rose from its rim and wrapped around Elianor's wrists. Not binding. Recognizing. The chamber floor shifted beneath the soldiers. Roads moved. The enemy commander cursed as the exit tunnel folded behind him. Elianor lifted one hand toward the cradle. The map asked for a price. Of course it did. Not blood. Never blood first. A memory rose. The first time she had heard her own name and believed it belonged to her. Elianor. Her mother had spoken it after blindness. When other children whispered broken girl and useless eyes. Her mother had pressed a kiss to her brow and said, Elianor means light that does not need seeing. If the land took that, she might remember the name, but not the moment it became shelter. Her throat tightened. The enemy commander lifted his blade again. Behind her, the forgotten pack was surfacing. Above, Caelum was holding back soldiers who did not yet know whether to fear them. Below, the cradle waited. Elianor whispered, Take it. The memory vanished. Her name became colder inside her. Still hers, but no longer warm from her mother's mouth. The cradle opened. Not with wood. Not with hinge. With land memory. A baby wrapped in gray cloth lay inside. Blind eyes open. Tiny fingers curled around a pebble shaped like a wolf's tooth. Her mother knelt beside it, weeping without sound. An older woman stood over them, hands pressed to the cradle. A Stone-Seer elder. Name her quickly, the elder said. The crown has already sent men. Her mother whispered, Elianor. Elianor. The elder shook her head. That is the name for the world. The land has given another. The cradle glowed. The baby's hand opened. Blue light formed one name above her palm. Elaria Stonevale. Elianor staggered. The enemy commander lunged. The cradle floor rose like a wolf's jaw and caught his blade. It snapped. Through the living road, Marin's muffled scream echoed from the war hall. He was still connected. Still listening. Still trying to interfere. His war seal burned across one enemy soldier's armor. Elianor understood. These enemies were not only foreign, they were guided by Maron's seal. She touched the cradle rim. Show who sent them. The land asked for no memory this time. The cradle had already been paid. A line of blue light shot from the enemy soldier's armor back through the living road, back to the war hall, back to Maron's trapped hand. The enemy commander shouted, Cut the road! 3 soldiers drove iron spikes into the moving floor. The chamber screamed. Pain shot through Elianor's feet. The living road began to fracture. Caelum's voice came through the mountain, strained but controlled. Elianor, tell me where. She understood what he was asking. Not how to take over. Not how to save her by force. Where to send help. But if soldiers entered too early, they might trample the living road. If they came too late, the cradle would be destroyed. The choice had to be hers. Elianor pressed both hands to the cradle. Send no army. Silence. Then Caelum answered. What do you need? She breathed through the pain in her feet. The named pack. Above. The stone road opened. The forgotten wolves of Greymere moved first. Not Veyrhold soldiers. Not Caelum's command. The pack whose cradle this was. They descended through blue-lit tunnels, silent and fast. Old Rena Underridge led them with a curved blade. Kellen Ashfoot carried a shield made from a cottage door. Mothers with pups stayed behind the second passage, guarding the children. The enemy commander saw them and paled. Greymere was not defenseless, only erased. The forgotten wolves struck. No glory. No battle song. Only home defending itself. Elianor held the cradle while the living road cracked beneath her. Blue stone light rose around the chamber, forming the shape of the buried stone wolf across the walls. One blind eye, one sealed mouth, a body made of mountain memory. The wolf spoke. Who blinded the cradle road? The enemy commander tried to swallow the answer. The cradle forced the seal on his armor to burn. Marin Thorn, he gasped. By order held under crown silence. The words traveled back to the war hall. Elianor felt Caelum hear them. Crown silence. Not crown command. A deeper law. Older than his reign. The buried stone wolf turned its blind eye toward the war hall through the road. Caelum's voice came quietly. What is crown silence? Maron's muffled scream became laughter. The living road under Elianor's feet cracked again. The cradle chamber darkened. From beneath the mountain, a second stone voice answered. Not the wolf. Something older. Crown silence is the law that erased the Stone-Seers. The cradle closed around Elianor's hands. Not trapping. Showing. Inside the mountain bone rim, a memory older than Veyrhold began to move. A blind woman kneeling before the first royal map while soldiers carved her name out of the stone. Elianor felt the woman's pain enter her palms. Then the memory spoke with a voice that was not dead. The crown did not erase us because we were wrong. A crack split through every royal map in the war hall. It erased us because we could still find what kings buried. Every royal map in the war hall cracked at once. Not loudly. Precisely. One clean line split through each crown-approved road, each painted border, each fortress route the generals had trusted more than living land. Wax seals snapped from the walls. Silver pins fell like hail across the black floor. Caelum heard the first crack beside his hand. Elianor felt the rest through the cradle. She stood beneath Greymere with both palms locked against mountain bone, the living road fractured under her feet, enemy iron spikes still buried in the chamber floor. Around her, the forgotten wolves fought without songs, driving Maron's foreign soldiers away from the cradle one narrow step at a time. Above, in the war hall, the generals shouted. Below, the first erased Stone-Seer's memory pressed through Elianor's hands like cold water through cloth. The crown had not erased us because we were wrong. It erased us because we could still find what kings buried. The words did not repeat. They worked. Across the war hall, every cracked royal map began bleeding blue stone light from the breaks. Names surfaced. Not village names this time. Women's names. Stone-Seers. Eladia Stonevale. Marin Underridge. Sylvia Blind Road. Thessa of the North Spine. Each name rose from the cracks, then struck the walls like accusation. Marin's muffled laughter broke through the stone band over his mouth. The map had not silenced him completely anymore. Crown silence was waking, and it wanted to protect itself. A black command line burned across the largest cracked map above the throne dais. By crown silence, all Stone-Seer testimony is void. The war hall chilled. Elianor felt the law reach for her through the road. Not like a blade, like a hand trying to remove her from meaning. Her throat closed. For one terrifying breath, the cradle under her palms began to forget her. Not her body, her witness. The blue light around her wrists flickered. Caelum's voice cut through the living road from above. Elianor. She could hear the danger in the single word. Not command. Warning. The cradle chamber trembled as the law spread. One enemy soldier, emboldened by the black command, lunged toward the mountain bone rim. Old Rena under ridge struck him down with the flat of her blade and snarled, "No crown law enters this cradle." The chamber answered her. The floor flared blue. Elianor breathed again. Marin forced words through the stone band around his mouth. "Void testimony, Majesty. She can touch every road she wants. The law says none of it stands." Caelum turned toward the black command on the cracked map. "Then the law stands accused." Marin's voice sharpened. "Only the crown can repeal crown silence." The war hall went still. The trap was clear. If Caelum used crown authority to end the law would survive through the same power that created it. Another king deciding which erased voices mattered. Elianor felt the land wait. Caelum felt it too. He placed his broken seal hand flat against the cracked map. Blue stone light climbed his arm. "I will not repeal it as crown command." The black law burned hotter. Maron laughed. "Then you cannot touch it." Caelum's answer came rough. "Good." He drew his sword. For one breath, Elianor thought he would strike the map. Instead, he turned the blade and cut across his own palm. Blood fell on the cracked stone. Not royal ceremony. Not war oath. Payment. "I stand as the man whose seal benefited from silence," he said. "Not above it." The map tested him. The black law shuddered. Not broken. Weakened. Elianor understood. Caelum had opened the door. But she had to choose what passed through. The cradle asked for a price. A memory rose inside her. The sound of her own laughter before blindness. Elianor Vale. She had lost her mother's village voice. Her childhood room. The last blue. Her mother's hand. The warmth of her own name. Now the land wanted the memory of herself before darkness had become permanent. A lighter self. A girl who ran because she did not yet count steps. A girl who laughed without measuring walls. If she gave it, she would not remember that version of herself as joy, only as fact. Her hands shook. Caelum's voice came softly through stone. "What does it ask?" She almost hated him for asking gently. "My laughter." Silence followed. Then he said, "You do not owe the crown that." "No," Elianor whispered. "I owe the erased women a road." She felt him go still. This time he did not say no. "Good." Elianor pressed her forehead to the cradle rim. "Take it." The memory left. No scream. No flash. Just an emptying. Somewhere inside her, a child stopped laughing. And Elianor could no longer remember how that sound had felt in her own mouth. The cradle opened wider. The names of the erased Stone-Seers rose from the Warhall maps and poured down through the living road into Greymere. They circled Elianor. Not crowning her, not claiming her, but finding the road back into witness. The black command cracked. By crown silence. The words split apart. "Stone-Seer testimony is void," the cradle answered. "Stone remembers what law denies." Blue light struck the war hall. The stone band over Maron's mouth shattered. He screamed not in pain but in fury. No testimony from the erased can stand in a royal court. Elianor lifted her head. Her voice carried from Greymere to the war hall through every cracked map. "Then this is not your royal court." The buried stone wolf growled beneath the northern spine. Caelum stepped away from the throne dais and lowered himself to one knee beside the broken war table. The generals stared. Maron went silent. Caelum's voice came low. "The war hall stands under land. Witness until every erased road is named." The map tested him. Blue light wrapped around his bowed shoulders. Accepted. The black law burned away from the largest map. In Greymere, the mountain bone cradle released Elianor's hands. She stumbled back. The forgotten wolves had forced the last enemy soldiers to their knees. Their commander lay pinned beneath Kellen Ashfoot's cottage door shield, Marin's seal still burning on his armor. Old Rena turned toward Elianor. "What now, Stone-Seer?" The title did not feel like power. It felt like another road asking to be walked. Elianor touched the cradle once more. No price came. Only direction. The erased Stone-Seer names moved through the chamber walls and opened a path downward. Not to Stonefall. Not to the enemy route. To the first royal map. The one that had carved crown silence into law. Caelum's voice reached her. "Elianor, the army is holding. Greymere is named. Maron is bound. Tell me where the road leads." She listened. The cradle showed her a chamber under the oldest throne foundation, deeper than the war hall, deeper than Greymere's cradle, a place where the first wolf-crowned king had buried the original living map, and beneath it, the first Stone-Seer's hands were still carved into the stone. Elianor swallowed. The road leads under the crown. Meyron began laughing again, not triumphant this time. Afraid. Caelum heard it. So that is what you never wanted found. The living road opened beneath Elianor's feet. Blue stone light stretched downward like a staircase into the mountain's oldest dark. Then the first Stone-Seer's voice moved through every cracked map at once. Bring the king who kneels. Bring the commander who carved. Bring the blind girl who paid. The path under Elianor's feet split into 3 lines. One reached for her. One for Caelum. One for Meyron. And in the war hall, the broken map dragged Meyron screaming toward the road. Stone swallowed Meyron's scream before it reached the floor. The broken war map tore open beneath him, and blue light wrapped around his wrists, ankles, and throat, dragging him through the split table like the mountain itself had grown hands. Generals stumbled back. Wax seals shattered under their boots. The war hall tilted as the living road opened wider. One line reaching into Greymere, one line coiling around Caelum's broken seal, one line pulling Meyron down into judgment. Caelum did not resist when the road reached him. That mattered. He could have cut the light. He could have ordered guards to hold him back. He could have called the path a trap and hidden behind danger. Instead, he placed his bloodied hand on the cracked map and said, "I come." The land tested the words. Accepted. In Greymere, beneath the cradle chamber, Elianor felt the road tighten around her bare feet. The forgotten wolves watched in silence. Old Rena Underridge pressed one hand to the cradle rim and bowed her head not to Elianor as queen, but to the road that had finally remembered them. "Go," Rena said. "We will hold Greymere." Elianor nodded. The living road dropped, not like stairs, like memory losing the strength to stay buried. Cold blue stone light pulled her downward through layers of mountain, past sealed tunnels, past roots gripping old bones, past maps that had been carved, corrected, scraped, and lied over until the land beneath them could barely breathe. Then the road ended. Elianor stood in a chamber older than the war hall, older than Veyrhold's current throne, older than every campaign song ever sung by men who believed roads belonged to kings. The first royal map lay at the center. Note on a table. In the floor, a vast circle of living stone carved directly into the mountain's heart, its rivers pulsing blue, its roads shifting slowly like veins under skin. Around it knelt statues of women with covered eyes and open hands, Stone-Seers. Their names had been carved away from their bases. At the far edge of the circle, Meyron landed hard on his knees, still bound in blue light. Caelum appeared a breath later, falling to one hand but not reaching for his sword. Elianor listened. No soldiers, no generals, no court laughter, only stone remembering. The first Stone-Seer's voice moved through the chamber. "Name the law that made blindness useful to kings." Meyron spat blood onto the stone. Crowned silence preserved order. The statues cracked. Caelum turned toward him. "Answer cleanly." Meyron laughed. "You think kneeling makes you clean?" The living floor tightened around his throat. The first map did not want his insult. It wanted the law. Meyron fought it. His breath scraped. At last, the words tore from him. Crown silence voids the testimony of any Stone-Seer, blind witness, lower pack mapkeeper, erased village elder, or servant who reads land. Memory against royal record. The chamber went colder. Elianor felt the law touch every wound she had carried. Blind maid, servant, lower hall cleaner, harmless girl. Every name they had used to make her truth easier to dismiss. Caelum bowed his head. "My crown enforced that." Elianor turned toward him. "Before you knew?" His jaw tightened. "Yes." The map waited. She heard the missing part. "And after you benefited from not knowing?" Caelum's silence changed. "Painfully." "Yes." Blue stone light flared beneath him. "Accepted. Not forgiven. Accepted because truth had stopped trying to dress itself." The first Stone-Seer's voice moved again. "Return the first road." The living floor opened beneath Elianor's hands, though she had not touched it. A path rose in relief. the first road-crowned silence had erased. It did not lead to a fortress. It did not lead to a royal mine or a war gate. It led to a row of lower pack villages where Stone-Seers had once kept living maps for farmers, scouts, widows, and children who needed to know whether winter roads were safe. Then the memory changed. The first wolf-crowned king arrived with soldiers. He did not burn the villages. That would have made martyrs. He changed the maps, moved river lines, renamed roads, removed settlement marks, turned living communities into blank land. Then he ordered the Stone-Seers to swear that crown maps were truer than touch. The first Stone-Seer refused. The king carved her name from the stone. Elianor's palms burned. The map asked for a price. She knew before it named it. This time, it wanted the memory of the first person who ever believed her after blindness. Not her mother. A servant boy in the lower keep who had once placed a cup exactly where she could reach it and said, "I know you can find it. I just moved the table back where it belongs." A tiny memory. Nothing to a court. Everything to a child learning dignity. Elianor closed her eyes. "If I give this," she whispered, "what opens?" The map answered, "The road of belief." She almost laughed. It would take the memory of being believed to open the road for others to be believed. Cruel. Veyr. Both. Caelum's voice came softly. "You do not have to spend yourself alone." Elianor turned toward him. "Then what do you have left that the crown can give?" He did not hesitate. "My right to override witness in war." Mehran went still. "No." Caelum placed his bloodied palm flat on the first map. "No royal command shall silence land. Memory testimony because it is inconvenient to campaign." The chamber shook. The map tested him. Blue light climbed his arm, deeper than before, cutting into the old royal mark beneath his skin. A crown right burned out of him. Caelum gasped but kept his hand down. The first map accepted his payment. Elianor felt the price inside her change. Not vanish. Lessen. The map no longer demanded the whole memory, only the fear around it. She gave that. The small servant boy's kindness remained. But the fear that no one would ever believe her again left her body like a thorn pulled from flesh. Elianor nearly sobbed. The first road opened. Above them, in the war hall, cracked maps began rewriting themselves. Not by crown authority, by land memory. Erased village names returned in blue stone light. Lower roads appeared. Old bridges reformed. Hidden winter paths surfaced. Far away, soldiers on campaign would see their maps change in their hands. Mehran screamed, "You are destroying command." Elianor's voice came steady. "No. We are destroying false certainty." The first Stone-Seer statue split down the center. Inside it, not bones. A pair of hands. Stone hands. Palms open. Still pressed against the original living map. The first Stone-Seer had not died away from the road. She had been sealed into it. Elianor stepped closer. The hands were the same size as hers. The chamber asked nothing. That frightened her more than price. The first Stone-Seer spoke through the open palms. "Do not wear my name as a crown." Elianor breathed in sharply. "Good." Even the dead understood the danger. "I won't." "Do not become the map for men who refuse to listen." "I won't." "Then take back the witness road." Blue light moved from the stone hands into Elianor's fingers. Not power. Not command. A way to ask the land without being devoured by every answer. The missing memory pieces inside her did not return. The map did not undo cost, but it gave her a path through it. Elianor stood taller. Mehran saw it and panicked. He slammed his bound hands into the floor, forcing the black war seal hidden under his skin to burst open. A foreign mark flared beneath it. Not Veyrhold. Not Mehran's alone. A mountain-split sigil. Caelum's eyes narrowed. "Who bought you?" Mehran smiled through pain. "You think I erased villages for ambition? I sold roads to those who knew what slept under them." The first map darkened. A tunnel far below the chamber opened in stone light. Inside it, something moved. Not enemy wolves. Not forgotten packs. A row of blindfolded stone beasts, chained nose to tail, pulling an entire hidden army through mountain veins no royal scout could find. Elianor's throat went dry. The first map pressed the truth into her hands. Stonefall had been bait. Greymere had been bait. Avon Maron was a door. The real army was already under Veyrhold. Caelum rose slowly. How far? The first Stone-Seer answered through the floor. Under the capital wall. Maron laughed once, broken and triumphant. Elianor pressed both hands to the living map. The witness road burned through her fingers. This time, the map did not ask her to pay. It asked her to choose. Guide the capital army blind, or wake every erased road at once. Blue stone light burst through every cracked map in Veyrhold before Elianor answered. The war hall shook. Painted borders split. Crown-approved roads peeled away from the walls. Hidden lower pack paths rose in blue fire. And beneath the capital, the blindfolded stone beasts stopped dragging the enemy army forward. They were not monsters. They were road creatures, chained and blinded so soldiers could move through living land without being seen. Marin knelt in blue bindings, smiling through blood. Choose quickly, Stone-Seer. Wake every erased road and blind your king's army. Or keep them sleeping and let the capital fall. Elianor stood before the first royal map with her palms burning against living stone. She felt the hidden army below the capital. She felt Greymere breathing under the mountain. She felt the erased roads waiting to return. She would not turn them into weapons. I choose witness first, she said. The first map flared. Blue light shot through the capital wall and down into the hidden tunnel. It touched the first stone beast's blindfold. The cloth burned away. The creature stopped. A second blindfold burned. Then a third. One by one, the road creatures opened eyes filled with land memory. They saw the army behind them. They saw the chains in their mouths. Then they refused to move. The invasion collapsed into confusion beneath the capital. Caelum's voice carried through the living maps. No blind pursuit. Hold the gates. Let the land name what comes. The map tested his command. Accepted, because he did not order victory. He ordered restraint. The hidden army tried to drive the beasts forward with iron hooks. The creatures roared not in rage first, but in pain. The witness road asked Elianor for one final price. The memory of darkness as home. After years of blindness, she had learned that darkness was not emptiness. It held warmth, sound, breath, footsteps, lies, and doors. It had become her way of living. If she gave it, darkness might become fear again. Caelum heard her breath change. Elianor. No command followed. Only grief. She asked the map. What does it open? The first Stone-Seer answered. The road creature's sight. Elianor pressed both hands down. Take what I learned from darkness. The memory left her. For one terrible breath, darkness became empty again. No warmth. No trusted echoes. Just loss. Then the road creatures lifted their heads. Their eyes filled with blue stone light. They saw through pressure, buried rivers, old bones, and living fear. The tunnels shifted. Walls rose. Roads folded. The hidden enemy army was trapped beneath the capital without slaughter. Marin screamed. Elianor turned toward him. Name who bought the roads. He clamped his mouth shut. The living stone read him anyway. Foreign houses. Border lords. War merchants. Crown cousins. Generals who had used erased villages as secret invasion paths. Their names burned across every cracked map in the war hall. Caelum faced Maron. You will live, he said. Maron's smile died. Every false road you carved will be walked with you chained at the front. Every erased village will hear you name who removed it. Every poisoned map will be corrected under land witness. The first map accepted. Elianor stood very still. She had saved Greymere. Stonefall held. The capital survived. But the memories she had paid were gone. Her mother's village voice. The room she first learned after blindness. The last blue. Her mother's hand. The warmth of her own name. Her childhood laughter. The darkness that had once felt like home. The land did not return what it took. It only made sure the cost meant something. Caelum stepped closer, stopping 3 paces away. I cannot return what the map took from you. No, I cannot undo making your humiliation the doorway. No. He accepted both answers. Good. Then he removed the war crown from his cloak and placed it on the living map. No royal war map will stand above land. Witness again, he said. No village may be erased because it is poor, blind, lower pack, inconvenient, or unregistered. No Stone-Seer testimony is void under crown silence. The first map waited. It wanted more. Caelum's jaw tightened. Then take the crown's right to march through unknown land without the consent of those who live there. The war crown cracked. Blue stone light swallowed it. Across Veyrhold, royal campaign banners dimmed. Hidden villages appeared on maps. Erased roads surfaced. Forgotten packs heard their names spoken by stone for the first time in generations. The buried stone wolf opened its sealed mouth and howled once. Not for war, for return. Elianor placed both palms on the first map. No map is true because a crown says it is, she said. The living stone carried her words upward. No road is empty because power erased the people on it. The war hall repeated the words. Slowly, then louder. Caelum bowed his head before the map. Not before Elianor. Before the witness he had forced into danger and could no longer command. I will not ask forgiveness today, he said. Good. What may I do? Elianor listened to the blue-lit roads opening around her. Walk the erased roads, she said. Not as king first, as witness, Caelum answered. I will. Elianor turned from the first royal map and stepped toward the road by feel. She was not queen, not weapon, not the map men could use when their own sight failed. She was Elianor Vale, Eladia Stone-Vale, blind maid, Stone-Seer, witness of roads kings had buried. And when she walked into the blue-lit dark, she did not wait for anyone to lead her.